Now, here's another one from China Observer. They mentioned that they were building a high-speed rail station there. I think that was in Shenzhen. Huzzah, another tab vanquished. Yes, let's go. So, I'm going to do a bit of a contrast here. We're going to show you what happens when China tries to copy Japan and Germany with their high-speed rail projects. And then I want to show you something cool about what Japan is developing as far as the next generation of high-speed rail. So first we're going to watch this from China Observer. It's titled, Failed to Copy Japan and Germany, China's high-speed rail shakes badly and feels like a fast tractor.
The Chinese government has long described their high-speed trains as a super smooth ride, but now they're being frequently described by passengers as feeling like sitting in a tractor going at high speed.
This is what it happens so often with the Chinese with anything that they build. Everything looks sleek and brand new when it's actually brand new, and then they don't take care of it, and it all falls to shit. You see this even on the individual level, with people just not taking care of their cars in China. I remember Serpent ZA was talking about how his mother-in-law, he's married to a Chinese woman, and his mother-in-law was complaining about her car. I think she had at the time a brand new like Ford Mondeo or something like that. And she's like, yeah, it's breaking down and it's not working properly. The thing's just a piece of junk. And he asked her, like, well, I mean, when's the last time you took it in for service to the dealer or to a mechanic shop or something like that? And she's like, what? I mean, why would I do that? I mean, I put petrol in it. What more am I supposed to do? It's like it doesn't even occur to them that, you know, it's like you can't just put petrol or diesel in your car and expect it to just keep running just like that. There's things like oil changes, there's maintenance and service intervals that in some cases with some cars they have to be strictly adhered to. Otherwise, yeah, they're going to fall apart on you. You know, some of them you get off fairly easily, and all you need to do is just multi-point inspection and oil and filter change. But yeah, you don't do that sort of thing and take proper care of your car, you're gonna have a bad time. You're gonna have problems. They may need some blinker fluid, right? Anyways.
Netizens shared their experience of riding the high-speed train from Changchun to Shenyang. After the train started moving, the carriages shook intensely. From the video, you can see the seats and small tables shaking wildly, and a paper cup placed on the table rattling back and forth. The netizens said that when the line first started running, the shaking wasn't as bad, but over time it has gotten worse. The passenger questioned if the train had a problem, feeling unnerved by the experience.
That is a failure to inspect the rail lines themselves, like the actual rails, and also probably a failure to keep up with maintenance on the suspension of the train itself. Because even the train cars, they've got all the coaches and the actual engine itself, they've all got shock absorbers and suspension systems similar to a car that they need to be maintained. And Japanese understood this and they maintain their trains fastidiously. Apparently the Chinese just don't do that. And so that's how you get these sorts of problems.
Another netizen on a train from Shenyang North also experienced severe shaking. The video shows a water bottle bouncing around from the rough ride.
You can't keep the cap off on that. That's going to spill over. There'll be water everywhere.
Almost like an earthquake. The passenger joked, "This bumping would make kidney stones fall out. I finally got to ride a real high-speed train." Another shocked netizen said it felt
free massage. I guess so. Though I don't know, if it's a long enough journey, it'll probably make your back feel like hell after a while.
Felt like riding in a high-speed tractor. The intense shaking sparked discussions. Analysis suggests this is closely related to the decreased alignment between the wheels and rails.
Yeah. No, that called it. That could be exactly the problem.
As well as the uneven wear caused by prolonged track usage.
There's a reason why they'll send maintenance trains slowly across these rails to sort of detect these problems, make a note of them, and get the rails adjusted properly to where it doesn't become an issue.
It's especially true with the widespread use of ballastless tracks. They are highly precise when first built, but as they settle, age, or deform, their smoothness declines. Repairs are difficult later on, which exacerbates vibrations during operation.
Yeah, that right there, that is a huge problem, which is why so many rail networks still opt to have ballast between the rails.
Meanwhile, many high-speed rail lines were originally designed for speeds of 250 to 300 kilometers per hour, but in practice, multiple types of trains have been running on the same tracks. Due to design limitations, the lines weren't fully built.
That is also a mistake. If high-speed rail can really only work on dedicated lines just for the high-speed rail. You put anything else on there, from slow goods trains to limited express trains to, local passenger trains, it is going to put a lot more wear and tear on the lines. It's not going to be as efficient of an operation, too, and you're going to start having these problems where you're riding high-speed rail and it feels like everything's just going to rattle apart. And then for safety reasons, they're either going to have to slow down or they're going to risk the train derailing.
The optimal standard for high-speed trains, especially in curves, track cant, and slope. As a result, different types of trains running on some lines have differences in their chassis structures and suspension systems. Over time, with continued wear on the wheels and tracks, their operational characteristics change. Some trains in specific speed ranges and track conditions create resonance effects, making passengers feel significant side-to-side rocking and low-frequency shaking. This is not an isolated issue, but the result of long-term prioritization of speed and construction over maintenance, and the mismatch between track design and actual.
You can slap these things together as quick as you want, and it won't make a lick of difference in the long run because you've got to be able to maintain it all. And if you can't maintain it, then congratulations, you've effectively built these long stretches of rails that is going to rust and go to waste because you're not maintaining it. It's all just going to fall apart. That's the thing that the Chinese don't get about all of this, is you have got to maintain it. You absolutely have to maintain this sort of thing in order for it to work.
Operating needs. While the government proudly announced that China's high-speed rail now has a total operating mileage of over 50,000 kilometers, surpassing the combined total of other countries' high-speed rail networks, the various issues with the trains have continued to draw attention from netizens. Numerous reports indicate that its development has been heavily driven by political performance. The focus has been on pursuing speed, scale, and records, with construction funded largely through debt. Particularly, the lack of transparency and openness in China's high-speed rail system has led to frequent cover-ups of accidents. The first response to any incident is often to silence the source of the news, and
that is really bad. If you're constantly having accidents and train derailments, you haven't built yourself a proper rail system, you built a death trap. And especially when you're dealing with high-speed rail, a train derailment at those speeds, that can kill a lot of people.
The handling of investigations has long been questioned, contributing to the frequent occurrence of accidents. A notable example is the 2011 Wenzhou train crash, which was forcibly covered up by the Chinese government and remains a painful memory for the public. According to international media, the root cause of the incident was China's patchwork approach to high-speed rail technology. They copied systems from countries like Japan, Germany, and Canada without mastering the core components. This resulted in incompatibility between the automatic train protection system and the LKJ train monitoring system. A signal light failure, which should have triggered automatic brakes, didn't work, compounded by poor dispatching, corruption, and substandard construction, leading to the tragic accident. Chinese media reports said that the D3115 train involved in the Wenzhou crash was modeled after Japan's Shinkansen CRH2 train, while the D301 was modeled after Canada's Bombardier CRH1 train. These two trains used different signal systems in various regions. Japanese experts pointed out that when Japan handed over the blueprints for high-speed rail cars to China, the Chinese side could not understand them. China ended up buying several prototypes to replicate.
Of course they couldn't. It's like handing a nuclear reactor over to orangutans and expecting them to make sense of it all. They're not going to understand a bloody thing about it. Final destination, yay.
Replicate the design, which resulted in poor quality. In China, high-speed train drivers receive only 10 days of training, while in Germany,
No. 10 days is not enough. No. That is completely unacceptable.
drivers train for 3 months, and in Japan, they train for 6 months.
That's more like it. 3 to 6 months. That's the proper way to do things.
China's approach of simply copying foreign technology resulted in only getting the surface-level design, not the core understanding. Even in 2025, netizens...
And writ large, that's what they do. They don't have the core understanding. They just copy it and expect everyone to just accept that as legitimate. Hence why I maintain that the entire economy and so much of the culture is just one gigantic fake Rolex watch.
often report incidents of train malfunctions that require passengers to switch to other trains. On October 18th, a train from Yongzhou to Shanghai Hongqiao broke down shortly after departure. An announcement over the intercom stated that the train could not continue due to equipment failure, and passengers were instructed to transfer at Hengyang East Station. In September, a G20 train on the Beijing-Shanghai high-speed rail had to stop at Nanjing East Station because of a fault in the train body, forcing passengers to transfer at the same platform. On the night of February 10, 2019, the G4555 high-speed train from Wuhan to Guangzhou South stopped at Yueyang East Station due to a fault. While stopped, a sudden power outage occurred. According to the train's announcement, the train could not operate, and passengers were required to switch trains.
Look at that. They couldn't even... having to climb out using ladders and just toss out the luggage, and... my god, what a shit show. How do they expect to be a world superpower when they can't even read a blueprint? You know, I think a lot of people have been wondering the same thing for a long time. For so long, the Chinese have just sort of bluffed their way through this sort of thing. And it's just one of the things where it works until it doesn't. And I think now more than ever, we're starting to see it all just sort of come undone. Because you can't really build these sorts of complex systems if you don't understand how they work, and especially if you're not able to maintain them. The complex systems of the Western world are able to remain in place and are able to work to a certain extent because they are maintained. But when you stop maintaining that sort of thing, you just sort of magically expect it to just keep working, and which is not how any of that goes. It all starts to fall apart, and it just keeps leaking out more and more every day that the whole thing is just sort of coming undone.
Passengers had to cross the tracks to board the newly assigned train, and because there were many passengers and fewer transfer channels, the delay lasted about 4 hours.
That is really dangerous. I mean, those passengers had better hope and pray that they had stopped all train traffic over the tracks that they're having to cross. And if you are elderly and, you know, you've got mobility issues or something like that, you're stuffed. You've had it. You're not getting through that.
A similar incident occurred on November 4, 2022, again at Yueyang East Station. On January 25, 2018, a G281 train from Qingdao to Hangzhou East suddenly broke down at Dingyuan Station in Chuzhou. The video shows the second carriage of the train with a malfunctioning traction transformer at the bottom, causing smoke and fire. The fire spread rapidly, burning a large hole in the train's exterior. Flames and smoke were visible even in snowy weather. Fortunately, no passengers were harmed, but the incident caused a temporary suspension of the train service, and passengers were stranded. While the Dingyuan incident exposed risks at the equipment level, the 2025 event on the Xiamen North high-speed rail line highlights that neglecting external environmental factors also poses a significant threat to high-speed rail safety. In November, a plastic bag got caught at the contact point between the pantograph and the overhead wire at the Xiamen.
Yeah, this, especially if you've got overhead wires that are what you use to deliver power to an engine and to a train, that, oh my god. Yeah, even something as small as this, that can create tremendous problems.
North Line. Xiamen's power supply section reported handling 13 such cases of debris causing malfunctions in the same month. The video shows that this small plastic bag led to the pantograph being lowered. Lowering the pantograph means the train can no longer collect power from the overhead wire and can only rely on inertia to move forward. In addition to technical shortcomings, China's high-speed rail system also faces issues due to inadequate safety management and a lack of attention to system building. On November 27, 2025,
this is why countries like Japan are so adamant in their enforcement of littering laws, because something like that happens, they're fucked.
A test train in Kunming collided with workers on the track, killing 11 people and injuring 2. This incident is considered one of the most severe railway accidents in China since the 2011 Wenzhou train crash. On the same day, 2 railway maintenance workers on the Baoche Railway in Sichuan were struck and killed by a passing freight train while performing maintenance work.
But you're supposed to have coordination and communication between the train drivers themselves and the signalman to let them know that shit like that is going on down the line. And people driving that train, they need to fucking slow down. Bill G. Momi, thank you for the follow.
These 2 tragic incidents on the same day reflect significant flaws in China's high-speed rail safety system. The accidents not only caused brief disruptions to traffic, but also shook the public's confidence in railway safety. Netizens commented, "How is the safety of train operations managed? This clearly shows that the railway system safety education is inadequate, safety management is lax, and safety responsibilities are absent. Accidents keep happening." They also said, "Facts are clear. There are countless hidden dangers that aren't being fixed." These issues with China's high-speed rail have led many netizens to compare it with the industry benchmark, Japan's Shinkansen. The Shinkansen, which China's high-speed rail has widely copied in terms of technology, has maintained a record of 0 passenger deaths caused by train operational accidents since its launch in 1964.
Yeah, they are absolutely fastidious about safety and about maintenance too, because yeah, that is an absolutely stellar record. Over 60 years, no passenger deaths. That is the sort of dream safety record that other people would give, that other train network operators would just give their souls for.
The core of the Shinkansen safety is its entire system. This system places high demands not only on engineering, but also on safety culture and compulsory maintenance. Parts are replaced before they break, and there's a large safety margin built into the design. Any minor delays are held accountable, and with its transparent accident investigation system, Japan has one of the most stringent railway management systems in the world. Although China's high-speed rail
It is the absolute envy of the world. It is incredible what they have done. I mean, if only more countries could be like Japan in terms of their rail networks.
has accelerated development through copying, it still has shortcomings in quality control and frequently makes basic errors, showing a disregard for safety. In contrast, Japan's self-developed Shinkansen is known for its precision engineering. Its maximum operating speed is 320 km per hour, and its test vehicle reached a speed of 360 km per hour. But Japan's rail company prioritizes safety by adjusting parameters rather than blindly pursuing speed.
That's how they're able to go so fast, because they fix things before they break, and they are obsessed with safety. And as long as they maintain those priorities, they will be able to go fast. The day they stop prioritizing those things is the day that they can no longer go very fast, that they can't get people there in a quick amount of time.
Japan's high-speed rail signal systems and track designs undergo strict testing, and there has never been a major accident, thanks to strict minimum distance requirements and multiple track configurations. In its early stages, China's high-speed rail system was developed by copying mature technologies from countries like Japan and Germany, forming the CRH series of trains. The technology came from companies like Kawasaki Heavy Industries and Siemens. Later, China completed the domestic production and redesign, launching the self-developed Fuxing train platform with its own standards. In terms of engineering technology, China's high-speed rail widely uses ballastless track structures and distributed power configurations. It has also continuously advanced research and demonstration applications of high-speed magnetic levitation technology. This overall technical system has been used in overseas railway railway projects, such as the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed rail in Indonesia. On the other hand, Japan's Shinkansen has long adhered to a dedicated high-speed rail system, using standard gauge tracks, distributed traction systems, and automatic train control. Its disaster prevention and seismic technology have significant advantages, with the EURADA's early warning system enabling automatic deceleration or stopping in the event of an earthquake.
Yeah, that's another thing that sort of system has absolutely saved lives. When an earthquake is detected, these trains come to a stop. They cut the power and they start immediately slowing down, because the longer this train stays moving during an earthquake, the greater likelihood it's going to derail. Whether because it's literally being shaken off of the rails itself, or the ground is shifting to the point where the rails become bent and they're no longer safe to travel over. It is an absolutely incredible system that they have developed, and it has saved untold numbers of lives when it has come into use. And it has seen use. It has seen real-world applications with earthquakes in Japan.
The Shinkansen models have evolved from the Series 0 to the N700s, with key advancements focused on aerodynamic optimization, noise control, and passenger comfort. These technologies have been successfully applied in Taiwan's high-speed rail, UK rail projects, and the Indian high-speed rail construction. The frequent accidents in China's high-speed rail are not coincidental. They are closely related to the long-term neglect of safety and the value of human life under the Chinese Communist Party. In contrast, Japan has placed safety redundancy at the core of its railway system, both in the design and the operational management from the start.
And it didn't used to be that way with the Japanese. There was, trying to remember her name. I have to look it up real quick. It was, Ruth Benedict. That's who I was thinking of. Ruth Benedict. She wrote a very interesting... She was an American anthropologist. Wrote a book called The Chrysanthemum and the Sword. And it was cultural analyses of the Japanese during World War II. And it used to be... And one of the things that she discovered was that one of the things that ultimately lost Japan the war was very little regard for the safety of crew on board the naval vessels. So many documented cases of just needless deaths, little to no regard for safety, for, trying to exercise some sort of fire prevention or something like that. It's said from other analysts that may have been one of the big things that ultimately caused Japan to lose the war. And a lot of that stemmed from the culture at the time, that there was little to no sanctity or regard for human life. So to see Japan do what can only be seen as a radical 180 in less than 100 years, from that to absolute fastidious obsession with safety that's nothing short of a miracle. That is just an incredible progress that they have made. And we can only really hope and pray that the Chinese go through some sort of cultural epoch of their own when it comes to that.
Shinkansen lines adopt a completely grade-separated structure, with dedicated tracks isolated from roads, conventional railways, and pedestrian areas, with no level crossings. This eliminates the risk of external interference, such as vehicles entering the tracks or...
Yeah, you're never going to see... I don't think you'll ever see, and to my knowledge, there are no level crossings for the Shinkansen in Japan. It runs on its own dedicated track, above or away from anything else, to where the idea of level crossings or anything like that they're not an issue.
Workers mistakenly entering the area. Fences and surveillance systems surround the tracks, and unauthorized access is illegal and punishable by law. This design ensures absolute separation between running trains and construction zones. According to public data, Shinkansen lines often used elevated bridges and tunnels, with a minimum curve radius reaching 4,000 meters, further reducing blind spots and collision risks. Shinkansen is equipped with an advanced ATC system that replaces traditional signals. The system continuously monitors train positions, speed, and distance in real time.
That's a highly sophisticated system that they've got. And really, it's a requirement for trains that are capable of going that fast. All these detection systems and everything, that all of it's necessary because, again, you're dealing with something that is capable of going up to nearly 300 kilometers per hour. I mean, it really is just speeding along the rails like an actual bullet. I mean, they call it a bullet train for a reason, because it is zooming along like a bullet. And if a human or an animal were to get stuck on those tracks and go face head on against that bullet train, the bullet train is going to win, and they are going to... that human animal would be splattered across parts unknown. I mean, there would be absolutely nothing left. Instantaneous death. And that sort of thing is just absolutely unacceptable for the Japanese. They have made it to where passenger deaths, worker deaths, anything like that would just be an absolutely unacceptable loss of face for them. I think that's how they've managed to make all of this work, that sort of thing means a loss of face. It means tremendous dishonor. And especially in Japan, where the remnants, whether you still have a lot of remnants of the old Bushido ways and culture, you are going to have that prevailing attitude of death before dishonor. That death would be preferable rather than having to deal with the shame and dishonor of knowing that someone, anyone, died on your watch because you weren't doing what you're supposed to do to keep things safe and keep things running properly. Oh my gosh. Raiders, welcome in. Action Bastard. Hello, hello. How was your stream? Thank you so much for the raid, Raiders. If it's your first time here, I'm Lord Rexworth. I'm an English nobleman VTuber. And, yeah, we're looking at... we're talking trains here. We're looking at the difference between tolerances of the Japanese railway system versus the Chinese railway system. And spoiler alert, the Japanese just do it better. Stream went well, game was worse than getting audited. First playthrough of Dark Souls 1 and its DLC. My goodness. Well, hang on a minute, let me get you some shoutouts here. And that's not right. We need to actually put in the command first. There we go. Dark Souls Remastered, I see. Well, sorry it was worse than getting audited. But hopefully you still managed to have some sort of fun with it. Let me do shout out the other way. There we go. Everybody make sure you go follow Action Bastard. Good friend of mine. My go-to for editing work. Also available for hire if you need editing work done for your streams. Please make sure you reach out to him. His work is good. His prices are reasonable. As fine as a challenge that must be battled through. Fair enough. Much appreciado of the shoutouts. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, and we'd be remiss if we didn't also mention... I believe you've got a... you're running for another higher office. Now, you also... I'm trying to remember. You're running for the governorship of a certain American state. So yes, those of you who happen to be residents of the of that state, please vote for Action Bastard for governor. Because at this point, given the absolute state of American politics, what do you have to lose? And you'll also be helping Action check off something else on the bucket list. Yes, doing a gubernatorial run soon. Just got to wait for the paperwork and petitions to be released so I can get those signatures. Yes. For those of you who are the citizens of the same state as Action Bastard, sign his petition. But yeah, let's carry on with the video here.
If a train approaches a potential risk, such as an obstacle ahead, the system automatically forces a slowdown or...
Can I just say, the train uniforms, especially for the ladies, quite lovely. Oh, she even got the cute satin bow for her hair. That's lovely. Apparently this is quite the thing, that they've actually got quite their fair share of cute lady train operators and train conductors and train guards over there in Japan. So, you know, those of you who are just adamant about having a Japanese waifu, maybe find yourself a lovely young lass who's, and if you're also a train otaku, then I guess your ideal woman is a Japanese train guard or a Japanese train driver, or, you know, somebody who works for Japan Railways. So I think we may have found Audrey Norfolk his future bride. The conductor hat stays on. Yes, the conductor hat must stay on. The A train's going to be lurking's wifey wife be home, time for dinner. Understandable. Go get yourself some dinner. Action. Well deserved. And Raiders, if you need to do any sort of after stream care yourself, I know Action tends to go pretty long like I do. Feel free to, you know, get up and stretch, grab yourself something to eat, something to drink, and yeah, kick back and relax with us as we enjoy some gourmet video.
Or brake to prevent a collision. Centralized Traffic Control, CTC, manages the entire network, including scheduling and monitoring, ensuring strict enforcement of construction permits. Analysis suggests that this automation significantly reduces the risks of human error. Even if the construction team violates safety protocols, it is unlikely to lead to a direct collision, as the system will
Automation that protects people from themselves. What a concept.
intervene in advance. Unlike China's accidents, which often involve a lack of coordination and dispatch, Japan's CTC operates with the precision of an airport control tower, with peak intervals of only 3 to 5 minutes and 0 errors. Shinkansen also has nighttime maintenance and preventative inspections. From midnight to 6 a.m., the entire line is shut down for comprehensive maintenance. During this time, no trains run, and workers can operate safely under approved conditions, avoiding overlap with train operations. The doctor...
This is the key to making sure everything remains shipshape and Bristol fashion, is these good men, absolute salt-of-the-earth men, working late into the night and early into the morning, making sure everything is proper and up to snuff. God bless these men. They are doing God's work here. They've got a hard job in the dead of night when everyone else is asleep, but the work they do has an absolute meaningful impact for the entire nation of Japan and makes their railway system the absolute envy of the world. So, God bless these workers, all of them. Absolutely, God bless them. They truly are doing some of the most important work in the entire world. And I don't think a lot of people are appreciative of that fact.
Yellow diagnostic train regularly inspects the tracks, identifying potential issues like cracks or wear. Specialized equipment such as tamping machines and overhead line replacement vehicles.
I mean, it's almost, I mean, look at that. It's almost like a white glove inspection of the power lines, which I presume they've turned off. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to touch them. And they're just slowly going along, just manually inspecting for any sort of imperfections. That is absolutely incredible.
Is used to ensure track stability. This preventative maintenance is based on Japan's frequent earthquakes and prioritizes safety over operational efficiency.
Yeah, they have to keep doing this work because even minor tremors, which can be quite normal throughout a year, it can have an impact. It can even have a big impact on railway operations. So it might not seem like a big deal in the here and now, but it has a ripple effect going forward into the future.
In contrast, China's accidents often occur during early morning train operations, while Japan ensures complete separation of construction and operations. Japan's railway culture emphasizes safety first, with strict employee training and attention to detail. Even when safety incidents occur, Japan's railway companies immediately initiate internal investigations. They involve third-party experts and government oversight. The investigations are thorough, and
you have to remember, Japan Railways was not always Japan Railways. It was At one point, it was not JR, it was JNR, Japan National Railways. This was all run very much like British Rail was back in the day, only a hell of a lot better. And part of the provisions for their privatization was the government said, we are going to be watching you, and we are going to be watching you like a hawk. And if you fuck anything up, we will rain down all sorts of hellfire and damnation to make you regret ever fucking things up. So don't fuck it up. And good on them for that. This sort of oversight is absolutely necessary because lives are in the balance. No pressure. No, definitely a lot of pressure. And deservedly so, because lives are in the balance here. The safety of the public is at stake. And that is not something to be taken lightly.
The results are publicly reported. Unlike China's state council-led supervision, Japan's investigations prioritize transparency, allowing the media and public to supervise. For example, after the 2004 Niigata earthquake derailment, preventative anti-derailment devices were added, and the system rapidly improved.
Yeah, so we can see this isn't just paranoia. This is the result of their own experiences of trial and error, which, to my knowledge, I don't think anyone was seriously injured or certainly not killed in that train derailment, but it could have been a lot more serious than it was. And so the Japanese were right to take that very seriously and make the appropriate corrections and come up with the appropriate systems to make sure something like that never happens again.
It is this safety-first approach in system design that has earned the Shinkansen its excellent reputation today. In contrast, China's high-speed rail, with insufficient technology and safety guarantees, relies heavily on debt to drive construction. While rapidly expanding, it has accumulated massive debt. When China state media announced that the total mileage of China's high-speed rail had surpassed 50,000 kilometers, a netizen decided to calculate the railway company's net profit and total debt for the year.
高铁总里程突破5万公里的事儿，大家都听说了吧？
Have you heard that China's high-speed rail has reached a total of 50,000 kilometers? The global total is only about 70,000 kilometers, and we already account for 50,000 kilometers. First of all, the railway company is under a lot of pressure. In the first 3 quarters of 2025, the China National Railway Group achieved total operating revenue of 912.2 billion.
912.2 billion yuan. Let's find out. Let me pull up XE here on my phone. And 912 billion, 200 million translates into 130,653,493,800 US. What about 97,457,623,600 pounds?
Yuan, with a net profit of 11.72 billion yen.
11.72, so 11 billion, 720 million. So about 1.67 or 1.68 billion dollars US, or just a little bit over 1.25 billion pounds. Total debt 6.27 trillion. So 6 trillion 270 billion 000 million 000 thousand 000. That's nearly $900 billion US. What about 670 billion pounds?
But its total debt has reached 6.27 trillion yen.
Gee.
If all of this debt is borrowed from banks at a 1% interest rate, the annual interest alone would be over 60 billion yuan.
I mean, it's just
Even
a lot
if all
of
the
fucking
interest
money.
is covered, it still wouldn't be enough. And this situation hasn't been just for 1 year. Secondly, to pay off the debt, the number of ordinary trains is decreasing. For example, from Beijing to Shanghai, on January 1st, 2026, there will be a total of 46 high-speed trains, only 3 of which will be regular trains, and 3 will be high-speed trains. However, the massive operating costs of the high-speed rail remain a large burden. Finally, the issues of aging population and declining birth rates are getting worse, and the downward trend in population is becoming more obvious. At the same time, the number of cars is steadily increasing.
That's not a good sign. If anything, the number of cars needs to be decreasing. And eventually it gets to a point with a declining population where you can't justify certain rail lines being in operation anymore. I mean, the Japanese have found this out the hard way by having to close a lot of lines.
Can high-speed rail
Usually
really
in the
pay off its debt?
Country provinces.
According to the netizens' calculation, the annual net profit is far from enough to cover the interest on the debt. Meanwhile, the Chinese government continues to shout about breakthroughs and being world's #1, while expanding the high-speed rail system on a massive scale. It continually covers up its accumulating debts. China's debt-driven and scale-first development approach stands in stark contrast to Japan's Shinkansen model, which prioritizes steady progress, local innovation, and sustainable profitability. China's high-speed rail system has a total transport density of around 17 to 23 million passenger kilometers per kilometer per year,
World's number
while the
one,
Shinkansen
Lamau,
has an
yeah.
average transport
Number one in
density of
something.
about 34 million passenger kilometers per kilometer per year, which is roughly double China's average. The busiest line has a peak density of close to 90 million passenger kilometers per.
I think we get the idea, though. I'm going to go ahead and give this a like, and we will drop this into chat.